Hello, and welcome to episode 44 of the Casual Tryhard Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And we've got kind of a smorgasbord of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
We've cleared up a mystery or two.
We sure did. We're going to get to that towards the end of the episode, I think.
It's Monday, so Pioneer got changed an itty-bitty bit.
Like 20 minutes ago, right?
Yeah. Thanks for waiting on us, wizards.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. 3 days from now when I'm done editing it.
Right.
And then we have the MagicFest and Pro Tour to talk about.
Recap a little bit of what we saw, our performance, what we saw about the meta, what we think is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter at Casual Tripod. You can follow. Brian has learned how to. I don't want to talk about myself in the third person there, but I have learned how to make an entire thread for a GP
without
and not breaking it is great.
Congratulations!
That was the big accomplishment of the weekend.
You can also find us on Facebook at Casual Tryhard MTG. You can email us at show@casualtryhardmtg.com. And I don't know why I'm telling you this because you're listening to us already, but you can find us anywhere you can find podcasts.
Pretty much. If you hear this or I listen to my podcast on whatever app, tell us, and I will try to put it on whatever app that is.
I think we're on all of them.
I feel like we are.
Yep.
But there might be some crazy Ukrainian app
knows?
that I don't know about.
Yeah, in the gulag.
Somewhere, yeah, exactly. Okay. So we're gonna start with Pioneer because that's the hottest news.
Real quick.
So it's Monday, so they made a ban and they banned Veil of Summer.
That's weird, right?
It is weird. So on the way back from the GP yesterday, I was going through. There was a Pioneer deck dump, and the format just seems like it's powered down modern.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
It's just a bunch of decks trying to out aggro each other and just run past each other.
Yeah, there's nobody interacting with anything.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone knows how yet.
Yeah.
And I think Mono Black aggro won the weekend event.
Yeah, and that deck can't be good.
And then there's I think 3 or 4 of the rest of the top 8 were some sort of mono green basically, or mono green splash blue stompy deck.
Yeah, super weird.
And there's a lot of green. The format is really heavy green. It's a combination of green ramp decks that are just going way over the top.
Yeah.
And these green aggressive stompy strategies. So Wizards thought that green was overrepresented, and so they wanted to remove Veil of Summer to see if that led to more interaction.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird card to ban.
It is. I mean, I think just the problem of in the ramp shells, cool, you're a control player, and you're 3 mana counter it, and they're just Veil, and you're well, I lost the game, or you're fatal push, and they're Veil, save my elf, and you're 2 for 1 and feel sad, and you probably lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's kind of awkward. It just seems like if that was the goal, was to kind of neuter these either ramp or big mana or just stompy strategies, I don't know. Veil seems like a half measure.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to work around the edges and not go after maybe Nykthos or some other card that is enabling that strategy. But the cards that enable it are elves.
Yeah.
And you can't ban Llanowar Elf and Elvish Mystic.
Right.
That, and then that just looks weird. So I think they're trying to figure out a way to get more not green decks in the format without just banning green decks. So it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is going to help. It might just be the exact same metagame with, a few more things getting countered.
Yeah.
So that's the Pioneer thing. It just doesn't seem like it's going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, and I'm not really one to talk either because I really don't have a whole lot of experience with this format. I've looked at some of the deck list dumps, and basically my experience in the format has been what we've discussed on the podcast so far. Hopefully this week I get to play some Pioneer finally now that the Grand Prix is over. And I think we got an event we're going to try and go to next weekend.
Yeah.
So.
I have ideas.
Okay.
They might be bad, but I have ideas. I was going through old red-green ramp lists, and I found a forgotten card that's probably really good in this format.
Yeah, what's that?
Kozilek's Return.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's just playing mana dorks, and like the decks are like red-green ramp into Goblin Rabble Master, or mono-green like elves, and you're just like, Kozilek's return you.
Right.
Cast a random spell, cast a Giant Eldrazi, Kozilek's return you again.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
So that card might be good.
Yeah, I mean, we also kind of talked on the way home a little bit about the Sultai deck, like the mid-range deck that I want to play, and how one of the changes I made to the deck was to move a Golgari Charm in, kind of for the same reasons. Cleans up a lot of those little goblin tokens, cleans up a bunch of elves.
Yeah, it just makes it so you have ways to like catch back up if they do stick something.
Yeah.
So, MagicFest Richmond.
Yeah.
So, we'll talk MagicFest, and I think we'll also talk maybe the Pro Tour.
Mythic Championship.
Yep. Sorry. A little bit here. So, we went in, we both kind of made our deck choices with the idea that the format would be all Oko time.
Yep, all Oko all the time.
And going to the MagicFest, it was pretty obvious that was the case, as people were running around asking every vendor for Aether Gusts, Noxious Grasps, and Veils of Summer, and Mystical Disputes. They were selling Veil of Summers for $9 a piece in some places.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to touch on this in a future episode, but just a helpful hint. When you show up to a big event like this, have your deck with you.
Don't make it so you're having to run around and get, like, gouged.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're like, I think I don't know what my 15th sideboard card is. I have a bunch of options. Bring the options.
Yeah, bring them all. The vendors typically don't carry like commons and uncommons.
So if they have them, they're charging you an arm and a leg for them.
Right.
They're only buying them. They're buying them for like $2 so they can sell them for $9.
Right.
I saw someone buy like 3 Veil of Summers and another card. The guy was like, it's $34. And the guy went, what? He's like, the Veils are $8 a piece. And he paid for it because
he had to have them.
He had to have them. Yeah, so don't be that person.
Yeah.
So the Mythic Championship had a nice metagame breakdown. In the words of Frank Carson, it was 69% of the decks had an Oko in them.
Nice.
So either an Oko in the main or the side. So it broke down to the Simic and Sultai food lists.
Yep.
Bant food.
It was Sultai Sacrifice.
Which is like the Cat Witch's Oven engine with Oko.
Yep. And then Sultai Flash, right? Or Simic Flash.
Simic Flash had them in the sideboard.
Yeah.
And so that was about 70% of the metagame.
Yep.
The day 2 metagame breakdown was about the same. The food decks went up in metagame share.
Yeah.
The MagicFest, there was no day 1 metagame.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
But the day 2 metagame was about 40 to 45% food.
Yeah, we kind of have a theory about that too, right?
Yeah, so I heard multiple people say this.
Yeah.
Or saw it in tweets where, so everyone who basically didn't do well at the Pro Tour, or a lot of them, just registered for the GP. Mm-hmm. So there were about 200 people that didn't day 2 the Pro Tour.
That were playing in a GP.
They were playing in the GP.
It was a small GP too, so the average quality of player for this GP was
pretty high. So it was like 560, 570 players. I haven't found the exact number. We did some pairings math. I would say probably 100 to 150 of them were Pro Tour players.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like, I played Oko at the Pro Tour.
And I don't want to play it anymore.
I didn't have any fun.
Yeah.
So I had Justin Sekenic beside me round 4, and he said, yeah, I played food, but it wasn't fun, so I decided to play this. He was on Jeskai Cavalier Fires, and he top 8 of the tournament.
Sweet.
We had a slightly divergent path.
Yeah.
So I went 5-2-1. The 1 was brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. I showed up for the very end of it.
Yeah.
I could see the life draining out of your face.
Yes. And so I got a feature match, but it was a feature match that there was no coverage for. They took a picture of me, and then 20 minutes after my match said who won.
Yep. So if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it,
I was at table 9 and round 2, and I got a feature match. That's what I'm going to tell my grandchildren. Happy one day, I showed up with a deck. We don't know to call it. Is it counterburn, tempo?
Somewhere in between the two.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both.
It's the deck I tweeted out a sideboard guide for. And I said all I wanted to do was play against food decks.
Yep.
I went 3-0 against anyone who had an Oko in their deck. Any blue-green deck. I drew against Jeskai Planeswalker Fires.
Yeah.
My opponent cast Fae of Wishes like 7 times.
Yeah, you said he kept going back in his sideboard.
And was just, I don't know what I'm going to get. And I needed one more turn to kill him. I think he would not have gone through his deck, so his sideboard so many times I would have got there.
Yep.
And then he got snippy with me he had an Ugin and a Chandra, and I had to figure out how to not die.
Right.
And he's like, we have 3 minutes left. I'm like, give me a second here, dude. I've been just doing a lot of like land go. So I drew round, that was round 5.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so played food, won, then played my worst matchup in the room, which was red-black sacrifice.
Ouch.
Back-to-back rounds.
Yeah.
We ended up 2-2 and was going to have to ride the lightning, then drew, and then won my next 3 matches. So it was a little sad.
Yeah. I had a pretty similar experience. Ended up 5-3. Won, lost, won, I think. Something like that.
Yeah. So it was, turn was fine. Like I was happy with my deck choice. Like it did exactly what I thought it would do. I knew I had a hole against red-black.
Right.
And I think the problem is there's not a flexible enough like piece of like artifact removal to deal with Witch's Oven.
You think that's the problem's the oven?
Yeah, like you can deal with everything else. It's the fact that the cat just comes back.
Yeah.
And so like if there was an Abrade in the format where you would have like that.
Well, you have Spyglass.
Yes, yeah. I guess I didn't play Spyglass. Maybe that's what I needed to do was play Spyglass and like not worry so much about the like blue-white matchup, which is also not great.
Well, right, but that helps you there too.
Yeah, I guess it turns off a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the only thing that I may have wanted to do differently. But I think I was fine. It did exactly what I thought. I just clowned food players. They were like, tap out for Nissa, counter it, put a counter on my guy, bounce something, attack you for 7.
Yep.
Right? And it was exactly what was supposed to happen. And I got a few people where I just like slammed a dragon and attacked them, and they were like, you have a dragon? I'm like, I do. You have 4 less life points.
You're going to die.
Go. So, but it was good. I think that if I had to do it again, maybe Spyglass or some way to shore up the food matchup.
Yeah. And I don't even know if that's right or not.
The sacrifice matchup.
Yeah.
And then I think other than that, I'm like pretty happy with how everything went. And we decided that you were happy with your deck, but wished you would have got on it sooner.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my MO, though, right? Is I'm always finding a deck last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, this deck was very me. I wish I had found it sooner. I did lose to Oko, or I didn't lose to Oko. I lost to Nissa and the Mirror. Now, the Mirror was a weird one. I was not expecting to see the Mirror because this is kind of like a fringy deck.
Yeah.
And I had never played it. So, like, thinking back on it, it took me until the 3rd game to figure out that the whole game was about Mayhem Devil.
Yeah.
Had I figured that out right off the rip, maybe that round would have gone a little differently. Who knows? It's kind of too late to tell at this point. But yeah, we're going to go into some more of my thoughts about the the meta in general in a little bit here, and that kind of will roll back into my deck decisions when we talk about that.
So so that was kind of our experience.
Yep.
The Mythic Championship, the way they have it set up is there's the big hall for the main like GP MagicFest thing, and then like I had like, I don't know, 75 to like 85% of the wall that splits the convention center in half.
Yeah.
And you could walk over to the
Mythic Championship.
Yeah. So Day 1 and 2, they had all the tables out, and they kind of had it roped off where you weren't allowed to go back unless you had one of the fancy like passes. But then you could see in the back, you could see the feature match area. And
Which you see on TV.
Yeah, what you see on TV. And then day 3, they got rid of all those tables, and they just built this...
it was like a viewing area.
Yeah, it probably had like 40 or 50 chairs and like 2 TVs set up, and you just watch the stream.
I've never been to another Pro Tour, Mythic Championship, whatever, but I have heard the viewing area mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, if that's a normal thing that maybe they didn't do for the whole thing this time around because it was part of MagicFest.
Yeah.
But I have heard, even on day ones, people mention the viewing area. So.
Yeah, so I don't know if there was... There probably wasn't one somewhere else. But,
I don't know where else they would have had one.
But there was one for day 3, so you could sit and watch the games. The top 8 was it 5 Simic Foods, a Sultai, or 4 Simic Foods, 2 Sultai, and then a green black and a green white adventures.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the exact breakdown.
Yeah,
it was all food, and then 2 Edgewall Innkeepers.
Right.
We were almost back.
Yeah,
and they were just finishing up. It was something like 10 hours to play day 3 from like 10 to 7 or something.
I think they said that the previous, like, as of the last round, the previous 2 rounds were food mirrors.
Yeah.
And I want to say that on coverage they said that those rounds lasted 3 hours apiece.
Yeah, like best of 5.
Yeah.
And like no untimed rounds. You just get like forever. And yeah, it's just super long. There were a lot of draws. So I had my draw, and I think there were like 24 draws.
Wow.
in the GP.
That's a lot.
24 people there were more because there were some people that had 17 points that had 2 draws.
Oh man.
There were 5, 1, and 2.
Yeah.
So like there were just a lot of these mirrors that just went to time. So the winner was Andre Strosky.
Congratulations.
If you play against Honey on Arena, that's Andre Strosky.
Yep.
He has a stream. He's a quite popular streamer. And he has built like 3 of my last 4 standard decks.
Yeah.
I almost walked up and told him that, but I was like, I don't know, like, he's, playing in day 3 of the Mythic Championship. He just needs some like rando walking up to him being like,
"Hi, buddy." Who'd you stop this weekend? Andrea Mangucci?
Andrea Mangucci.
Reed Duke?
I had Andrea Mangucci sign Andrea Mangucci.
Yeah.
So I have one of the Channel Fireball Zombie Army tokens because I was playing Commence the Endgame. So I had him sign. I was like, "Excuse me, Mr. Mangucci.
Yeah.
Will you sign yourself?"
And you congratulated Reed Duke on the Hall of Fame, right?
Congratulated Reed Duke on the Hall of Fame. And then talked to Terrell Toffel-Severin briefly.
Yep.
Told him I enjoyed it reading boys and that Riley was growing on me.
He was in the pod next to us when we were doing our mystery drafts.
Yeah, so like his friend was in our draft.
Yeah.
And he was in the other one, so it was just like slightly off.
Yeah.
Yeah, our second mystery draft pod was Pro Tour Sharks.
Yep. Yeah, I think there was 3 of them in that pod.
Yeah, there were 3 of them. And then, so I think those are the 3 people I stopped. I don't think I harassed anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So I've talked to 2 of the 3 arena boys. We just need to get one more in there and we're good.
There you go.
Just got to find Yamin one day. So this is where we are, and there's really no reason to go super deep into like the format and what the matchups were, because the format is Oko, food. There were apparently multiple players in the GP and apparently at the MagicFest. At the GP and the Mythic Championship.
Yeah.
That were like elk cosplaying.
Oh, I didn't realize there were people at the Mythic Championship.
Yes, like Maria Bartholi brought it up. Like she's like, I've never seen so many people like at the Mythic Championship with elk antlers and like cosplaying during the Mythic Championship. Yeah,
there was I think there was a team of 3 people that weren't just cosplaying as elks; they were cosplaying as elk tokens.
Yeah,
because they had 3/3 written on the back of their shirts.
Yeah, in their and they had shirts that had like the printed on name tag that said "Hello, my name is Elk."
Yeah,
and they had on antlers.
Yeah,
I would say there were probably I probably saw 7 or 8 people.
Yeah,
with elk antlers on.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
So we know that something's going to change in
Right.
a week, and it's just a question of what, but the format can't continue as it is, so there's no reason to like do some deep dive and be like, well, what's the best build?
Yeah, that'd be a waste of everybody's time. It's all going to be different in exactly 7 days from right now.
Yeah. If you want to like jam your Okos,
Do it now.
do it now.
Yeah.
I started buying Okos. I bought a borderless Oko for $35.
Man, the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I know. I feel like a dunce because I spent $50 on my Okos and now they're like $25, and I'm like, what have I done? But that's all right. He's just gonna like, unless he gets banned in Pioneer, but he's still like legacy playable. So
And modern.
And his won a vintage championship.
That's right.
So
Evidently, Black Lotuses make good elks.
yeah, they do. They get in there.
Yep.
So yes, you have them. So we're not going to get too deep into that. But we are going to talk about kind of what some of the problems are and like what the format looks like. Mm-hmm. So James has a soapbox. Let me check. He seems to be standing on it.
Yep, I've got it.
So
I don't remember how much of this we have actually talked about on the podcast.
yeah.
So I figured I'd just wrap everything up and we'll talk about it all right now since it relates to bannings anyway.
Sounds good.
Back, a couple minutes ago when we were talking about my deck selection, I had to go out of town for training for a week. And because I was out of town, I had a bunch of free time after my training. And all I did was jam arena games and try and figure the meta out to come up with a solution for what I was going to play for this Grand Prix. And I had some revelations that I think I shared with you like during that week. And then when I had come home and we had, talked back and forth a little bit. But like I said, I don't remember how much of it actually ended up in the podcast. So one of the things that I had mentioned was that the turn 2 Oko isn't a death knell. You can beat the turn 2 Oko. It's the turn 3 or turn 4 Nissa that is super hard to beat. If you Noxious Grasp or, kill the Goose or counter the Oko or whatever, the Oko doesn't generate like enough value by itself to like swing the tide of the game. If your opponent like sticks an early Oko and makes a food, sure, that food's probably going to matter at some point, but it's not backbreaking. That portion of a card that the food represents isn't like vastly going to change the game. Whereas if they stick a turn 3 Nissa, that whole game not only becomes about that Nissa, but the value that it leaves behind. So if they get a turn 3 Nissa down, untap a forest, make it a 3/3, swing with the 3/3, and then, use that 2 mana to like cast a Once Upon a Time to find their Hydroid Krasis that they can now ramp out with Nissa. Like, you lost that game. Mm-hmm. Even if you kill that Nissa, you've lost that game. You're not coming back from that. Nissa just has too much value if it ever hits the battlefield to like come back from, I guess. And the fact that it can come down on turn 3 or turn 4 is kind of absurd.
Yeah, it's not okay.
Yeah. So when I was trying to figure out the decks, like I had originally planned on just playing food, either Simic food or Sultai food or whatever. But I couldn't find a build of it that could answer the turn 2 Oko and answer and come out ahead with the turn 3 or turn 4 Nissa. You could do one or the other. You can build a deck that beats an early Oko, or you can build a deck that beats the Nissa, but you can't really do both. And you have to be able to, because the deck's capable of making both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been lots of talk over the last like 6, 8, 12 months about 3-mana walkers.
Yeah.
How we have like Oko, we have 3-mana Teferi, Big Teferi, people were calling a 3-mana walker.
He's a 3-mana planeswalker that you can't cast till turn 5.
Right, because part of his like going up untaps lands for you. Well, Nissa does the exact same thing.
Yeah, we mentioned this. We said this on the way back.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh yeah, I had never heard anyone say that, but she is effectively just a 3-mana planeswalker that you can't cast till turn 5.
Right.
But then gives you 10 mana on turn
and
6.
then the next turn. Yeah, it's absurd. I'm going to make a couple more points, and then I'm going to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but I think you kind of can see where I'm leaning here. One of the other revelations I had was that the mirror, despite it being not fun to play, was super play draw dependent. And I think I pointed out in the car ride home that if you watched the finals, the advantage that was gained by being on the play was like almost insurmountable. Like you could look at the battlefield on turn 3, and the guy who was on the play had a full battlefield, and the guy who was on the draw had to answer what the person on the play was trying to do and had no battlefield.
Yeah, you spend more time being reactive.
Yeah.
And you can't ever play to the board.
Right. And like in this mirror match, you have to play to the board. Otherwise, you get buried. Somebody sticks a Nissa, and then, they animate a land. They go find a threat. They make a bunch of mana. You can't react to that. You have to be proactive to that, which really stinks when you're on the draw. So...
Yeah. Well, Paulo was on the play in the finals, mauled to 5, played a questing beast, and almost won.
He did win a mauled to 5 yeah, he was on the play, like, I think it was round 3. He was on the play, mauled to 5, and won that game.
Okay, last game was mauled to 5, and went
almost won.
Turn 3 questing beast, like, maul your Oko.
Yeah.
And then... got Strosky to 5 before Strosky was able to like stabilize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that took a massive mass manipulation to do, right?
Yeah, he had to mass manipulation, steal 2 things. So with the mirror being so play draw dependent, I think we talked about this before. There is an argument. People keep saying that these food decks have a lot of like intricate play patterns and stuff, but I think there are a large number of draws that the game just runs away and you just don't do anything. You're like, here's my Oko on turn 2. Here's my turn 4 Nissa. Here's my giant Hydroid Crisis. And it's like, I didn't have a draw that lined up with that. I just didn't do anything.
Yep.
And then there are the games where you both kind of do your thing.
Yeah, you both have a threat and a piece of interaction. Yeah,
and then the game slows down.
Yeah.
And becomes about grinding out value and making decisions. But there's, I don't know, 20-25% of the draws that you're just like, oh, well, we're done.
Yep, pretty much.
That is not great. And there's an article I read that we can touch on here a little bit.
Okay.
That explains that gets at the root of what's causing some of that.
Okay. So I had promised a couple minutes ago that we were going to talk about how all this influenced my deck decision.
Yeah.
So now that's what I'm going to do. I ended up on the 4-color, like, sacrifice, food, kind of mishmash list. I thought that Oko was too good not to play. Like, for the 3-mana investment that you can get down on turn 2 with a Goose. And, like, Goose is already kind of a card that you want to play anyway. Like, Oko's too good not to play. But I didn't want to get into, like, the Nissa mirrors, because that's just miserable.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find a list that played Oko, but didn't have to rely on Nissa. Like, Oko kind of rewards some good decision making too. I know you said like that was kind of a 25% thing, but if you do make good decisions with Oko, you can get like incremental advantage there.
Yeah.
So the sacrifice deck, like when you combine it with Oko, can just kind of make all your opponent's threats elks and then chump them forever with cats.
Yes.
So like you can turn the game into not about combat if you want to. Which is really helpful when your opponent wants to make the game about combat.
Yeah, or has to.
Yeah. On top of that, like if you can find a window to stick a Corvold and you have like even a portion of your engine going, you can make a lethal Corvold like over the course of a turn. Like if you cast a Corvold, by the time you untap and go to combat with Corvold, I'd say probably 7 times out of 10 you can make that Corvold lethal. And on top of that, the advantage he gives you by letting you turn like your cats and food and stuff into cards, even if they can answer the Corvold, you still have such an advantage that you can usually find a way to win from there.
Yeah, so like the deck with the highest win rate, it was a small sample size, was Sultai Food.
Yeah.
Which is basically the deck you were playing kind of minus
the Corvold, yeah.
Like the Corvold, you had Mayhem Devil too,
I had Mayhem Devil too, yeah.
So they didn't have that. They didn't have the red. It was a little bit cleaner mana base. It was blue-black. It was Sultai.
Yeah.
But it's the same basic thing. They had the cats and they had the Oko. Say cat. We've had cats last week too. This is Cauldron Familiar Cat.
Yeah, different cat.
Yeah. Yes, it was a deck choice that other people made, maybe slightly more tuned, but it was a deck choice that other people made.
Yeah. Well, you said also there was a 4-color, like the conversion rate for 4-color was pretty high too, day 1 to day 2.
I think. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I think it was all right.
The other thing that like kind of influenced my decision to play this deck is I had just mentioned the engine, but there's a whole bunch of engine cards that work really well together without really needing to assemble any specific pieces of them. So the cat, Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven, Gilded Goose, and Trail of Crumbs. Like, if you can assemble like just about any two pieces of that engine, except for, I guess, cat and no, even cat and Trail of Crumbs works. Yeah, if you can assemble like basically any two pieces of that engine, you're just going to get a huge advantage over the course of like 2 turns without really any extra investment.
Yeah.
So again, foreshadowing. I think this might be a decent place to look post-ban.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit on the trip also.
It depends on what is banned.
Right.
But yes,
Yep.
it could be a reasonable place to start.
Yep.
I guess I'll throw this in here now. So I read an article by Zvi Mauschwitz.
There you go.
Who he just has like a WordPress page that he like occasionally sends stuff out.
Okay.
And
he is like one of the greatest minds Magic has had.
Yeah, he's like an old school like deck builder. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not. I think he is.
I think he is.
He's in the Hall of Fame for being known as like just a great deck builder.
Yeah. I wanted to point that out because if you're like newish to the game,
you have no idea
you
what
would
we're
have
talking about.
never heard of him.
Like, who's this V guy?
Yeah.
So he wrote this thing where he's like, Oko needs banned, right? Oko's messed up, but we also need to ban the London Mulligan.
Okay.
Because he feels like what happens is you have to. Everyone is just trying to have their exact same best start,
right,
over and over and over again, and the London Mulligan allows you to do that more consistently.
That's a really good point.
So the games become about turn 2 Oko, turn 3 Nissa draws, because you see them more often.
And especially when you only need like 1 or 2 cards to get there.
Yeah, and you also like, Once Upon a Time exacerbates that, because you have the London Mulligan, and then you get to keep more 6s that have Once Upon a Time because they're the non-planeswalker missing piece of your do your thing the same way every time.
Yeah, they're either a dork or a land.
So he's like, the games are becoming super repetitive and being about these like, perfect draws because of the London Mulligan.
I hadn't thought about that. We've talked about like the format getting solved really quick a couple times, and I had never really like factored that in.
With my deck, I had to, I tweeted this out, and I think I said it before.
Yeah.
In the blind, I would have to take perfectly functional hands
and put
them back because I had to have some way to interact with turn 2 Oko, turn 3 Nissa.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like, oh, this hand's good, but I'm on the draw and it has 2 mana interaction. That's not good enough.
Right.
Send it back, try again. So then I could get a consistent, repeatable, like board state of Goose, Shock It.
Yeah.
And like that is a weird place to be, that you have good hands that you have to mulligan because your opponent is going to do the exact same thing every game.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, they're going to have Forest Goose, so I have to have a way to interact with Forest Goose.
Right.
And so, like, the format's getting solved because everyone's getting to do the exact same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
His argument was, like, keep the London Mulligan for limited,
but
then
go
back to like the old Vancouver Mulligan.
Makes sense.
Which I don't know if they would do.
Yeah, I don't know if they do that either. It'd be too confusing for newer players, I think.
Yeah, but it does raise a point that it's maybe not only the fact that we've had some misses in R&D, but just like now the fundamental rules
aren't
of the
punishing
game.
enough.
Yeah, the fundamental rules of the game are.
Yeah.
I understand not wanting the mulligans to be punishing so you don't have non-games, but you also, the mulligans not being punishing means that going from 7 to 6 to make sure you have the 1, 2, or 1, 3, 4, 5 curve over and over and over again.
So basically what you're telling me is that the deck in Modern that everybody was afraid of running away after adopting the London Mull was Tron.
Yes.
And now in Standard, the deck that everyone has agreed is running away with the metagame is Oko Nissa.
Yeah.
And they both rely or benefit pretty heavily from this London Mulligan.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is Oko is Tron?
Oko could be Tron.
I mean, it kind of is, right?
Yeah,
it's a big mana deck.
It is enemy number 1.
Yeah.
But I mean, even think about like in Pioneer right now, the decks that everyone's complaining about are the green decks.
Yeah.
Right? They had to ban Leyline of Abundance because you draw your 7, you don't have Leyline Dork.
You mull,
and then you hit Leyline Dork, and you're like, okay, cool, now I have my busted start.
Right.
Or even now, like, the green decks that are doing well are all, like...
Once Upon a Time decks.
Once Upon a Time elf decks.
Yeah.
Right? So you're like, well, I need to go elf into 3-drop.
Right.
Okay, if I don't have Once Upon a Time land elf 3-drop...
Yeah.
I just mulligan, and I'm going to get some combination of those things.
Yeah, you were rattling off... I don't remember if it was... PTQ deck or
I think like
challenge deck that was just like elves and then Legion War Boss, Goblin Rabble Master, just like these broken 3-drops. So it was all elves and 3-drops.
It was 8 elves, 8 of the red 3-drops that make a goblin that attacks.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time, and some Embercleaves, because Embercleaves on a Rabble Master is real good.
Yeah, real good.
But like you're going to, with 8 elves and 8 3-mana things to play, you know that every game you can go elf 3-drop.
Yeah.
Start bashing face every single game, which that wasn't the case before.
Right.
So that might be an unintended consequence of just like improved consistency.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
And it's not even like they're not combo decks per se. Right? It's like just improved.
They're combo nations instead of true combos.
Yeah, and so everyone's right about combo decks being too good.
Yeah.
And it's more just these like
synergy decks.
Like ramp decks.
Yeah.
Like I've got to get from 1 to 3. Just a thought. Like
I'd like to see some data on that. How much did you mull this weekend? Do you like when you're keeping track of your life and like your rounds and what you're playing against? Do you ever write down if you mulligan or not?
Sometimes, I think I mulliganed, I don't know, like 5 or 6 times, but they were for the most part. I think there was 1 or 2 for lands issues, but the rest of the time it was I don't have interaction.
Yeah.
I have to have interaction.
So I'm sitting in the other seat because I was playing Goose and Oko, and this time I did not write down if I mulliganed or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, especially like if I'm trying to collect good data for something.
Yeah.
This time I did not, but I know for a fact I only kept 1/7 all weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which would never happen.
Never ever.
Before that, because you'd be like, I can't go to 6.
Right. And like the cost of going to 6 is almost nothing.
Yeah. And I mean, I told you before the tournament, I was like, I just have to remind myself I can win on 5s. And I've done it plenty of times on Arena where I'm like, well, I don't have interaction. Okay, I have like a Mystical Dispute, a Brineborn Cutthroat, and like, an Ionize. I'll find my 3rd land, and then we're just going to make the game about them. Hopefully I draw well.
Yeah.
But like you would never, like going to 5 before was just like, well, I'm done.
Yeah, I lost now.
Yeah, and now you're like, well, I'm live, which on one hand is good, right? It's good if you're mulliganing because you're not getting lands and spells.
Right.
It's another thing if you're mulliganing because you have to have very specific answers, or you need to have a very specific set of cards.
Yeah.
This might just be a bigger overarching issue that even if cards are fine,
right,
that they could be broken if you always have access to the way they're broken.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Not to say that Oko is not broken.
Right.
But maybe it's less broken if you don't have it every single time.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I had said, though, is that like Oko on turn 2 is really good. And unless you have an answer for it like right away, it's probably going to end the game. But it's beatable.
Yeah. I think the thing is like you have to have like Noxious Grasp.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You're never going to attack it down. I think
no.
That's like part of the problem. Like you have to warp your deck to have an answer to it.
Yeah. No, you still have to be black.
Yeah, because if you just play a creature like a Dum-Dum, they just make it a 3/3 and like you're like, okay, my Oko's at 2. I'll put it at 4 and then play a Wicked Wolf.
Yeah.
Eat your 3/3.
Yeah. Good
go. And you're like, So it does kind of like warp things pretty far.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, was play designing with the London Mulligan?
Probably not.
So it may have been a situation where they were misplaying Oko.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to just go like, oh, I don't have Goose Oko.
I'm going to go find it now.
I'm going to go find it now.
Yeah.
So maybe the consistency from Once Upon a Time was fine, but combining that with
the London Mall,
like aggressively going to 6 to find. I know there were multiple games where like my opponent would go like Goose Go, and I would shock it.
Yeah.
And they would have no turn 2 play.
And no land.
Yeah. Or they would have like the land, they'd like play their land.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, now I'm going to make a food. Like they didn't have their third land.
Right.
Like they were all in on like winning the game with Oko.
Yeah.
And it was like shock. Oh no, I guess they can't make it. You're like shock if they have no turn 2 play.
Right.
And then they're like, they were like, offended that I like dared interact with their goose.
Yeah.
Everyone's super reliant on having that particular curve. So anyway, London Mulligan might be a problem due to what V said. So what are other things we can do?
Pretty interested in reading that article. I'll have to find that when we're done here. So yeah, there are a couple different things that can potentially happen that are like kind of reasonable. The first thing that kind of the hive mind all agrees on is that Oko should be banned. I think if you go just about anywhere on social media, talk to anybody playing the game, everybody pretty much is on board with ban Oko. The second card that can get banned is the Goose. For a long time, the design strategy has been that 1-mana accelerants are too good. Ever since Origins, I believe. I think it was since Origins. Like at that point, they had said 1-mana accelerants are too good. So we didn't have elves for a long time, despite having them.
It was after they rotated out of M15.
Yeah.
So M15 cons blocked.
Yeah.
And then
like Magic has had 1-turn accelerants for pretty much its whole existence up until that point. They decided that turn 1 accelerants were too good, so they got rid of them, and then we recently just got them back, and maybe that's part of what the issue is now. The one thing that I didn't write down that some people are talking about is banning Once Upon a Time, just as another way to get, consistency. But now knowing about that last point that you just made about that article, I don't know if Once Upon a Time is correct or if London Mulligan is correct, or maybe a combination of both.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that, I had noticed going back to my testing for this event was Nissa. I think Nissa's too strong.
Yeah, no, Nissa... I bought a bunch of Nissas when she was spoiled because I'm like, this card just seems nuts. Like, just a one-sided Mana Flare. I think in the car I was like, Mana Flare was 3 and a red, and it did it to both players. You're like, you tapped your 4 mana, and you gave your opponent 8.
Right.
Now you tap 5 mana.
You get 2.
Get 2 back, and a 3/3.
Yeah, with haste and vigilance.
And it only affects you.
Yeah.
The game has changed.
Yeah.
Right? And, the number of times on coverage, they were like, well, if he untaps with a Nissa, the game's over. Right. Like, you can't let your opponent untap with a Nissa. And it's like, you can't let anyone ever untap with a Nissa. Like, the whole game will end. The whole game is kill that Nissa this turn. Yep. And if you don't, it's usually over. Now, I did race a few Nissas, but...
Super hard to do, though.
Super hard to do. Yeah, I think it's ban Oko. I think the options are ban Oko, and then the Goose Nissa ban. And then if they just want to take a sledgehammer to green, it's I think Oko Nissa. Yeah. Because if you leave Nissa around, the green decks probably just slot Teferi into that slot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then you just played Nissa and Hydrated Crisis. That's just going to be a deck
mass
until
manipulation.
It rotates out. Yeah. Yep. Mass manipulation. Maybe play a little more interaction. Yep. Because you have some white cards and you play a Deputy of Detention or something to eat other Hydroid Craci.
Yeah. Kind of like the deck that was around before Oko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the only options that I think they have those kind of combinations. Because if you don't I think just green is going to be busted,
oppressive
going forward.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they have in the next format.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But
green was really good in Theros last time we were there.
I think we talked about this before. It just seems like green gets
everything.
and like there's just not a hole in green card in green as a color.
Right.
And Veil of Summer is too good for Pioneer.
Yeah.
Still A-okay for Standard.
For now.
So
we'll see.
Would they wouldn't ban Veil. Like that would just be like dumb. Like it doesn't do anything.
It depends. Like Veil's too contingent on what the format looks like. Like that's why I really didn't understand the ban in Pioneer. Because like Veil's only good if, blue and black spells are good.
Yeah.
If blue and black spells aren't good, then Veil's not good. And like right now in Pioneer,
green spells are good.
Green spells are good, not blue and black spells. So I don't understand why they hit Veil and Pioneer. And the same thing's gonna go for Standard. Like unless blue and black spells are really good, Veil's not good.
Yeah. So we're talking about banning things,
yep.
And there's some mitigating factors as to what may or may not be banned.
Mm-hmm.
The first is the calendar.
Yeah.
So the scheduled ban date of November 18th is 9 days before deck list for Mythic Championship 7. That's right. That is your third Mythic Championship in like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You can.
I hope you like this Oko Standard because you get to watch a lot of it.
You get to watch a lot of it. And Eric Froehlich's like, well, it's not fair to people competing in that event if they only have 9 days to prepare.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they all have 9 days.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them. Everyone has the same 9 days. Also, going to like banning in the calendar, did you see the tweet Aaron Forsythe sent out?
No.
He sent out a poll.
Okay.
Should we do bans ad hoc at more regular scheduled intervals? Or I forget what the other option was. Like, and someone was like, suggest something we did, like maybe just every other Monday for all formats. Just like, this is just how it is now. Because he was like, based on how fast things change, like, do we need to like basically change how we do bans?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe like
when the whole BNR, philosophy was created, we didn't have Arena. We didn't have formats getting solved from brand new in a week.
Yeah, we didn't have Twitter.
Right.
It wasn't like, it wasn't everyone tweeting their decks out.
Yeah.
So they might be reevaluating how they do bans.
Maybe.
Going forward. So, okay, so there's the calendar.
Yeah. There's also the marketing.
Yes, because we were talking about it, and I was like, Oko's face is on so much stuff. There were like so many things that just had giant Okos printed on them.
Yeah.
And Oko shirts. I saw a bunch of people wearing Oko shirts.
Yeah.
Like, Oko is the face of this set.
Mm-hmm. I did see, I don't remember if it was a tweet or a Facebook post or something, about somebody just making like an offhanded comment about how it's okay for like Oko to be, handsome and cut and shirtless on like the face of Magic product or whatever. It was just kind of a weird comment, but the point of it is like when they answered, they said, this is something that Oko is a main character for the story. We needed him to sell packs. We figured if we portrayed him in this light, it would sell packs. So that's what we did. But yeah, that feeds into the banning argument also, because if Oko's face is on everything, on packs, on shirts, on binders, sleeves, you name it, like that's not something that you want people to open and then say, oh, I can't play this card.
Yeah. Or like, oh, who's that sexy man? Well, that's Oko. Oh, what's his card? His card is evil.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You can't play him.
You can't play that card.
He's the devil.
He's the devil. With a blue mask on. He's a blue raccoon. So, like, that is also a problem. Like, they can't... Right, if they ban Nissa, right, let's say they decide the solution is Nissa, a set that's in print, but is not the current set they're trying to push.
Right.
And if they banned Goose, Goose is a rare. Goose is in the current set, but the Goose is not loose on packs and shirts. No one's wearing like a Goose shirt.
Yeah. The secret third option is that Goose also wasn't $80 last week.
True. I mean, Untitled Goose Game might have been, but but this particular Goose was not. Everyone thinks it's going to be Oko, but there are these mitigating factors.
Yeah. And I believe on our car ride home last night, you said somebody was in the Ban Nissa boat with me.
The Goose Nissa boat was Amazonian.
Okay.
Amy the Amazonian was like, I'm on ban those two.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? And then like Oko's a 3-mana planeswalker again, as opposed to being a 2-mana planeswalker.
Right.
But I think the problem is like the unfun thing about Oko is, hey, I played this sweet creature. I played a questing base.
Yeah.
It's a 3/3.
Right.
Right? Like it just like invalidates all of your creatures.
Yeah. I played a Great Henge. No, you didn't.
It's a 3/3.
It's a 3/3.
I played a Trail of Crumbs. Oh wait, it's still a Trail of Crumbs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an inside joke.
My opponent tried to elk my Trail of Crumbs in the last round.
After like 7 turns of like getting Trail of Crumbs, then he was like, I'm going to turn that into an elk. And I was like, yeah, that's not how that card works. Like, if it was, he would have done it 7 turns ago.
I would have done it to myself and then attacked you with it, yeah.
Yeah. So, just be mindful that there is a chance they kind of like zag just because they want to keep pushing Oko stuff.
Yeah, and like I don't know what that means for next year's standard either.
Yeah, like something we talked about too, like getting rid of Oko or Nissa means that's a knob that's getting turned that was not being turned during R&D.
Yeah.
I also pointed out that they were not turning the Oko knob correctly if they weren't oking their opponent's stuff.
That is correct. They forgot to push while they turned.
Yeah, they just it only does one thing. No, actually,
it's not doing anything.
Yeah,
you got to push it first.
Push it first and then turn. Oh,
okay.
All their stuff's in elk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe doing this leads to some other deck rising up and being like oppressive, right? Like
yeah, and it's important to remember that when talking about bans in general. That's definitely something that people forget about.
Well, I mean, in like the smart people's defense, right? Like Sam Black and a couple other people were saying that when you ban Field of the Dead, you should just go ahead and ban Oko.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's just going to make it all Oko.
Yeah.
That is what happened.
Yep.
And I don't know if the Oko domino falls, what that then
what the next best
leads
thing
to,
is.
Right? Is it fires?
I don't know.
I don't know. Right, so
we talked about that on the trip, and we're going to talk about it right now too.
So it could be fires. It could be some deck that already exists.
Yeah, we had a couple other ideas also. I think the existing deck that gains the most from an Oko ban is probably fires.
Yeah, I think so too.
We also have kind of a rip on your Is It list, whether it's just Is It or whether we go Teamer or Grixis, where you're some kind of like Royal Scions tempo-y shell with like a beater backup plan.
Yeah, where you don't have to be so committed to stopping a turn 2 Oko.
Right.
Or like never letting a Nissa resolve, like being able to put a little more pressure on so when the Nissa does resolve, you already have a clock and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
So you have that, or just like kind of a goose mid-rangey shell where you're like playing your Gruul Spellbreakers.
Yep.
But you also have like Royal Scion. So it's kind of like the Jeff Hoogland had a Teamer deck that was just like
Okos and Royal Scions.
Okos and Royal Scions and Questing Beast. Like if it had an orange Eldraine set symbol, it was just in the deck.
Yeah. So
that's one option. And then how about like green-black food?
Yeah, like I said when I was, kind of putting together and learning this 4-color deck, the Cat, Oven, Goose, Engine, Trail of Crumbs is really powerful. And if the format kind of takes a step slower and taking a step shorter, like doesn't go as over the top.
Yeah.
You could probably get away with something like Savvy Hunter as well.
Yeah, where Savvy Hunter's turning your food into cards.
Yeah, into advantage. And like you made the comparison of Savvy Hunter is kind of just Glint Sleeve Siphoner, right?
Yeah.
Like if food is energy, Savvy Hunter's Glint Sleeve Siphoner.
Yeah, so like Glint Sleeve Siphoner made energy when it came in.
Yeah.
And energy when it attacked.
Yeah.
And had menace. Savvy Hunter's 1 more mana.
Yeah.
Every time it attacks or blocks, it makes a food. But you're not limited to upkeep.
Right, you can do it whenever.
Draw the card.
Yep.
Like Goose gives you a more repeatable way to generate food than like you had any way for energy. Energy, like all the played energy cards were like
on attack or on damage
on
or whatever.
attack or like ETB.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just like pay 2 mana, make an energy.
Right.
Which would have been ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, we're doing a really good job of comparing food and energy right now.
We are.
I don't know if you remember our set review episode, but somebody else compared energy to food.
That was you.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing is like when you looked at food, it didn't have as many payoffs.
Yeah.
That were like, it was like they fixed the payoffs from energy.
Yeah.
When those payoffs were things that looked like whole cards, right? Like the Thopter from Whirler Virtuoso,
right?
Kind of looked like a pretty large percentage of a card.
Yeah, most of a card.
And right, with everything being ETB make energy,
yeah,
the energy was free. Right, the cards that had energy didn't have the energy's worth of value knocked out of their stats. Right. So Whirler Virtuoso was a 2/3 for 3 mana. Maybe it should have been a 2/2 for 3 mana. Right. Rogue Refiner
2/3 for 4 mana.
Yeah, Rogue Refiner was a 3/2 that drew a card and gave you 2 energy
for 3 mana.
For 3 mana, it probably either should not have drawn you the card.
Yeah.
Should have given you like 1 energy.
Yeah.
Or should have been like a 2/1.
Yeah.
For
or a 1/2.
3. Yeah, but like it had enough. Like the cards were all just like reasonably statted without the energy factored in. So I feel like they tried to do a better job of factoring in the food and making food cost mana a lot of times.
Yeah.
But it's still not.
I mean, if you think about Rogue Refiner, like Elvish Visionary, is a card that sees play in every format.
Yeah.
Costs 2 mana, is a 1/1 and draws a card. So for another mana, you get
+2
+2 +1 and 2 energy.
Which 2 energy was a half to an entire card.
Yeah.
So it was almost like draw a card and a half.
Yeah. For 1 more mana.
Yeah, so I feel like they did their best to fix a lot of that. Like you didn't get a lot. You don't get a lot of food for free.
Right.
But the fact that like you can repeatably get food.
Yeah, there was no pay 2 mana make a food or make an energy.
Yeah, but like Oko fills the like make free food role.
Right, and so does Goose.
Yeah.
So does the Oven.
Yeah, so they didn't maybe balance it correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is where Standard might be. So play your Okos this weekend, and then see what happens on Monday because they can't let this happen. They can't let this tournament happen again in 3 weeks.
No, absolutely not.
Like,
2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Like when we were driving back, the non-food mirror was like 23,000 viewers.
Yeah.
And then we did go into like commercial hell where it was like 11
in
commercials. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
But then like when it went to the food mirror, it went to like 19,000.
Yeah.
And then like the next food mirror, it was like 17,000. Like they were just hemorrhaging viewers. Like the more food tokens got made, the more viewers went to get food and just never came back.
Yeah.
Now for something fun.
Yeah, now we have something super fun to talk about.
So this is going to be part of like something else we just want to touch on briefly, and that's the mystery packs.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to say like after like, you know, jamming a bunch of arena or playing your, you know, your Grand Prix or your tournament or your big tournament, whatever, it's fun to just like play Magic for fun.
Yeah, turn your brain off a little bit.
And the mystery packs solve that.
Yeah, I think we both had a blast yesterday morning. We did 2 of these mystery drafts.
I drafted some awful decks because I was value drafting.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the mystery packs were unveiled on Thursday at GP Richmond or MagicFest Richmond.
Yep.
And no one knew what was in them.
Right. We only knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah. The running joke was that they were going to be full of bees.
Yeah.
Each pack was just going to be bees.
Hey, man, I got a hornet nest out of one of my packs.
You got bees.
I got bees.
Right. And they started out with a sealed.
Yep.
And then they did on-demand drafts, I think, all weekend.
They actually did like a really cool reveal for it. I don't know if you caught any of it on social media, but they had like Gavin dressed up as like a Men in Black guy with like sunglasses and a tux
like
on.
Secret Service.
Service, yeah. And he had like a briefcase like handcuffed to his hand. And then they had a whole bunch of product like heaped up on a cart that like a bunch of judges were like guarding or whatever, pushing it around the venue. It was kind of neat.
looking at it at first, I wasn't super impressed with it.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I had to talk you into doing it.
Yeah. What it ends up feeling like is it's more like a cube.
Kind of.
It's like we have down here is a cross between a cube and a chaos draft. So a chaos draft is you just get random packs,
right,
and you draft them. And the problem with chaos draft is that
there's no good packs anymore.
Well, there's no good packs.
Well, see, that's the argument that most chaos drafters use, though, is that they would rather chaos draft because they want to open an Urza's Legacy pack and they want to open a Mirrodin pack.
Oh,
but, like those packs don't exist anymore.
So I was going to say that the problem with chaos draft is the themes don't carry across sets.
Yeah, that also.
So you open your Mirrodin pack and you take your busted cares about artifacts rare, or card that was busted in Mirrodin, and then you see hot soup as as an artifact, and you're like, well, this card's god awful, but I need artifacts.
Hot soup coming through.
Right. That's an actual real card. I'm 15 people.
That's the flavor text on it too.
Yeah. Right. So the themes don't line up.
Yeah.
This is more like Cube because they've curated the cards. So
they definitely put archetypes in.
There are archetypes, but unlike a Cube that is usually, $540?
Yeah.
For a Cube, this set is
a lot of cards.
Somewhere
just under 2,000.
The count is weird though.
Yeah.
So if it comes to your store,
right? If you're playing it at your LGS,
the set is
121 cards different than if you play it at a MagicFest.
Yeah, the set's 16 or 1,700.
Yeah, the base set itself, I believe, is 1,694.
Okay.
And then if you play it at a MagicFest, there is also 121 playtest cards. And if you play it at your LGS, there will be 121 foil cards in the playtest card slot instead. But those 121 cards will be cards that are not in
they're not
the base set.
Okay. So it does, when you draft it, it does feel like you are drafting Cube.
Yeah.
But it's a Cube where not everything is it's a Cube where you have
may not fill out your archetype.
More cards than there are packs. So it's a 540 Cube where when 8 people sit down and draft, there's a bunch of cards left in the in the box, as opposed to a Cube that's 360, which all the cards are in the draft pool.
Right.
You said playtest cards. So these were the thing that was unique and what train wrecked all my drafts.
These were also the things that everybody was excited about, and I think have caused the most volatility also. So yeah, in the convention edition packs, so what you would play at a MagicFest, I think they said it's going to be at PAX East. Yeah. I think there was one more convention they said it was going to be at.
So MagicFest Columbus is the next one you can do this at.
Okay.
I do believe, because the Sao Paulo and some of the international ones, they can't get the packs there through customs in time.
Oh, okay. That stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in these convention edition packs, there are, in one of the slots in the pack, they're calling it a test card or a play test card or something along those lines. And it looks like, if you've ever seen a picture of Wizards play test cards, that's what it looks like. They have printed a sticker on the card. So instead of looking at the artwork in the text box, it looks like a sticker of some 5-year-old's artwork in a text box.
Yes.
And these cards, they're not really normal Magic cards. They do really weird things. Like I said, they have 5-year-old artwork.
By 5-year-old, he means artwork drawn by a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Not like that was done 5 years ago.
And so what these were is they went around Wizards and they said, design a card.
Yep.
Hey, Bob in accounting, design a card.
Yep.
Hey, Sue, design a card.
Yep.
And so they all got to design a card. Mm-hmm. And so some of them are joke cards.
Yeah. You got to be kind of in tune to get the joke.
There's the Golgari something. It's 3 green, black for a flying vigilance creature. And that goes back to the great designer search.
Yeah.
Where when you had to take a quiz and get like all the questions right, and it was like, what color pair is most likely to have a flying vigilance creature for 3 mana?
And one of the choices was not blue-white.
Yeah.
So you had to pick whatever other color pair fit, and like I guess it turned out that the answer they were looking for was Golgari, but that's not what like anybody put down, because that's not something that Golgari gets to do traditionally.
Yeah, and their argument was, well, green gets vigilance, and black gets flying, so of course, so they made a 3 green black,
right? Kind
Sarah
of as a
Angel.
joke,
yeah. And then there's like it's a blue-red hybrid card called How to Keep an Izzet Mage Busy, and it just says put this card back in your hand.
Yep.
And so you can just keep casting it over and over and over again and accomplishing nothing.
Yep.
There's a couple things. There's a couple cards that turn you into a planeswalker.
Yeah, it's kind of unique. So the thing with these cards is that they're different from uncards. They're different from silver border cards. That's kind of the first thing that people compared them all to was silver border cards. Wizards came out and says these are not silver border cards. Silver bordered cards are cards that don't work within normal Magic rules. These cards all work within normal Magic rules. So they could all potentially be like printed in some form or another on a real Magic card.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're joke cards or whether they're like rejected playtest cards, or whether they're cards with a mechanic that they actually want feedback on, like Wizards has said, all of those 3 things are possible. So maybe someday you might see How to Keep an Izzet Mage Busy.
There was the one I had, which is the name of the card was Terminus backwards. Well, the name of the card was
It was Terminus spelled backwards.
Terminus spelled backwards.
Yeah.
I don't know how you say that. And it had I forget what the name of the was. It was Reverse Miracle.
Reverse Miracle
for black. If you searched your library and it was the bottom card of your library, you had to pay black and exile all creatures.
Yep. And that is a card that could exist.
Yes.
Like I could see that in, some Theros or whatever. That is a card that I could see existing.
And then there was like the Unicycle that's like a 3/1 creature that also is an equipment.
Oh, was it a creature or was it a vehicle? I think it was equipment vehicle.
Was it equipment vehicle? Yes. Yeah. So you could equip it to something or it could be a vehicle.
Right.
And so it has like weird rules and interactions.
Yeah.
So I train wrecked all my drafts because I just drafted every one of those that came to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of them.
I ended up with 22.
Whew.
I think that so there were 24 packs opened in our 2 drafts.
Yep.
I ended up with 22 of the playtest cards. I got 12 in the first draft and 10 in the second.
That's pretty good.
So, I pretty much got all of them.
Well, no, there's 24 packs in one draft.
24 packs, so 48 total.
Yeah.
So I got half of them.
Good job.
Yeah. I don't know if any of them are going to be worth anything, but it's also just a thing that you're not going to be able to get very often.
Yeah, and I don't know, obviously they're not going to do this forever.
No.
So I don't know how long they're going to have them for. Saying that, this is definitely a unique experience that if you have the chance of doing, you should do it.
Yeah, even if it's at your LGS.
Yeah.
They haven't said, did they say what, I guess there's not an MSRP anymore.
No.
There are valuable cards in the set, but the way the set is set up is there's no rarities.
Kind of.
It's weird. Explain.
Yeah. All right. So every pack has 15 slots in it. Okay. 15 different cards. There's going to be 2 commons or uncommons from each color. So 2 red, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 white, 2 green. There's going to be 2 commons or uncommons that are either going to be an artifact or a land. There's 1 rare or mythic from M15 forward, so the new frame. And there's going to be 1 card of any rarity pre-M15, with the old frame.
Yeah, so if you don't know how to tell the cards apart, they actually use the old card files.
Yeah.
So they look exactly like the old cards, except for there is a small planeswalker symbol in the bottom left-hand corner.
Right.
And that's how you can tell if it's the reprint card or the original.
Yep.
Because I opened a Carpet of Flowers.
Yeah.
And it looks exactly like a Carpet of Flowers with the original art and everything.
Yeah. So on top of that, there's also in the convention edition, you'll get one playtest card, or in like the local game store edition, you'll get one foil card. But for every slot in the pack, it comes from its own 121 card sheet. So there's 221, or there's 221 card sheets for the red common uncommon slot.
Okay.
One for each of them. There's 221 card sheets for the green common uncommon slot. When you like break that all down, you have an equal chance of getting any specific rare or mythic from your, rare mythic slot as you do any specific common or uncommon.
Okay.
So you would have a 1 in 121 chance of opening a lightning bolt off of the lightning bolt sheet. It's the same chance you'd have of 1 in 121 of opening the mana crypt off of the rare mythic sheet.
Okay. Now you say this, but there were some collation issues. There were multiple times that you got packs. You saw 2 identical packs. We were in the same pods. I apparently wasn't paying attention, but you saw 2 identical packs.
Yeah. I don't know if they were exactly identical, but I know that there was at least 4 cards in the pack that was the same from our first draft to our second draft.
And there were multiple stories about people opening the exact same pack.
Yeah.
In their sealed pool, they had 2 of the same pack.
Yeah.
Like, I think Ryan Overturf had 2 Soul Rings.
Yeah. Somebody else had 2 Mana Vaults.
Yeah. Or Mana Crypts? Or is it
Mana Crypt, sorry.
Yeah. So there's some weird things. Like, I think that they, these aren't super high quality control. Like, they're not going to be, like, competitive packs ever.
Right.
So it is if you like Cube or you like Chaos Draft, I think this is like good.
Yeah.
It does, like I said, it does feel like Cube.
Yep. It's definitely a neat palette cleanser, something different when you're kind of burnt out on whatever format you're playing.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they say when it's going to come to stores?
March 13th, I think they said.
Okay, so until then, the only place you can do it is at a MagicFest in your area.
Yep.
Unless you live in Sao Paulo.
Right. Then I'm sorry. You should have come to Richmond.
Yeah. Hey, get on your plane. Hitchhike with Paulo Vitor da Rosa.
Sure.
That'll be fine.
Just hiding his luggage.
It'll be fine. 3 Brazilians in 1 trench coat. Getting on a plane.
Counts as 3 Brazilians for anything that counts Brazilians.
Yeah, there you go. There was a card. Wasn't one of the playtest cards like 3 kids in a trench coat?
It is, yeah. It's like 2 and a white for a 1/5. And it counts as, I think it's 5 kids in a trench coat. And it counts as 5 creatures for anything that counts creatures.
There we go.
Yep. Impact Tremors. Boom. 5U.
That was a mystery draft.
Yep.
It is less of a mystery now. I think if you go on Scryfall, they have all of the playtest cards figured out by now.
Yeah, they had an uncut sheet hung at the event hall. So I'm assuming people have taken pictures and, put the cards in databases all over the place.
Yeah, so they exist. You can find them.
I know Goldfish has a couple, like they haven't actually made the set, but they do have, there's a couple people that have like imported the card file into Goldfish like as a deck list.
Gotcha.
So you can search for that and see like all
the cards in it,
1,1700 cards, whatever. Supposedly the EV on it's really good. I heard somebody had calculated the EV based off of Goldfish, and just in the 2 slots where you could potentially get a rare mythic, you were looking at an EV of like $8 per slot.
Wow. Okay.
So like that's forgetting about any valuable commons or uncommons from the other rest of it, and not counting the test print card.
Yeah.
Which some of them I've seen for between $40 and $80.
I should probably look and see how much the ones I have are.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a guy in our last draft was 3 guys who day 2'd the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And they were super spiky about this like fun, dumb format. And the one guy, like partway through the draft, someone was like, at the end of the draft, someone was like, yeah, those white cards are worth like $7 a piece.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? And I'm just like, Got my pile of white cards. I'm like, yes, excellent.
Yeah, we got them.
I got all days.
Yep.
So we're gonna cycle back to serious Magic for winners.
Serious Ragic for a minute.
Serious Ragic. Yes, right.
Serious Ragic?
Yeah, you said Serious Ragic. You sounded like Scooby-Doo.
You should edit that out.
I don't know.
All right, it's there forever now.
Scooby Carson's pretty good.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh. Speaking of Ruh-roh, our arena data. Arena was drunk. It needed to go home.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man.
So I was like, I had looked at the arena data because we got back last night kind of like 7, but I just didn't feel like sitting down and doing it.
Yeah.
I was palate cleansing myself more with playing some dumb arena omniscience drafts.
Okay, you did. You haven't done the Oko's Madness or whatever?
I haven't done Oko's Madness yet. So
it's so bad.
Is it bad?
Oh, it's so bad.
Did you get your Bone Crusher Giant?
No. I played one game, and I don't know if I can do another one.
So Oko's Momir Madness is it's Momir,
right?
But all your creatures have power and toughness 3/3.
On top of that, mana cost doesn't matter.
What?
Yeah.
So you just like play a one. You just
make 1-drops. Yeah.
What?
It's awful.
Oh my god.
It's awful.
So like you can like do the 1 mana thing and not get it and just get like a 3/3 Gristlebrand.
Right.
But then it doesn't matter because
I got a 3/3 Tidespout Tyrant.
But it doesn't matter. Well, Tidespow's hard. Oh, you don't cast spells.
You don't cast anything. Yeah.
But then like it doesn't matter like if you draw cards with Gristlebrand because you're not playing lands.
Right. The only thing, like, you can play lands if you have, like, activated abilities, I guess. Yeah, it's terrible. It is the worst thing I've ever done with an hour of my time.
You played one game and it took an hour?
It was like 40 minutes, yeah.
The rules of Magic say you can concede at any time.
I wanted my card style, man.
Yeah, Bone Crusher Giant's pretty deep up the list of card styles. You got to win like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So there's that, apparently, if you want to hate yourself. Like, I was going to go home and try to grind out some wins real fast doing that, but maybe I will reevaluate.
We'll do one after we wrap up here.
Oh, God. I hadn't looked at the arena data, and I was like, well, I'll look. I don't even know how many games we had. And so I went and I looked, and our data is super wonky. It is from a different planet. So we've been living on planet Oko.
Right.
And arena is on planet Noko.
Yeah, planet mono red, like 12% mono red.
Yeah, so all of our data is from gold. I played some, and then Steve McGee played a whole bunch.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. You really helped us out this week.
Yeah, so we ended up with 63 games. In the old data sheet, and Simic and Soul Typhoon was somehow 5% of the gold metagame.
Unbelievable. That's like 65% less than the MC.
And like 35 or 40% less than the GP.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people were like, you know what?
Gentleman's agreement, no Oko.
Yeah, I don't want to play this, so I'm not going to. But yeah, it just was like seemingly shadow banned.
Yeah.
From Arena.
You know what that means?
What?
It's a great time to play Oko.
It's a great exactly.
Because nothing can beat it.
No one's expecting it. I mean, I guess mono red was the most played deck, and then there was like green black / Jund Adventures, which I think these decks have just kind of settled on being green black now.
Yeah.
But then we had just giant like 35% off meta, and like our on meta stuff. Like we had a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like 11 of the 13 decks we listed were played against.
Right.
So I don't know what people were playing.
I don't either.
That they were not playing the decks we had listed, but like we have the main gist of things. I think the only like oddball deck that is listed here is like mono black. That's just because I went through a phase where like I just played against mono black over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that was played almost as much as Simic or Soul Typhoon. It was 3.2%. It's off by like 1 game played from being the same. So yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know why people got off of it.
I don't know.
I had one theory that maybe you went from having a bunch of people perhaps testing on ladder.
That could be.
and then they stopped testing. So then all those like spiky food decks went away. But I wouldn't expect for them to be at gold.
Yeah.
Unless they dumped a bunch of money into like a secret like
offshore account.
Yeah. Well, I mean, LSV's secret Magic Online account, right?
I heard he had one. I don't know what it is.
It's M. Bison.
Oh, okay.
Because he tweeted out that he was testing and played against someone from his team.
Yeah.
Who was not on a secret account and was like, hey, so what are you doing with this deck? Oh, yeah, I'm thinking about playing this at the Pro Tour. And it was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that. Not realizing it was LSV's secret account. So, like, that was just, like, tweeted and put up just that exchange.
That's pretty good.
Like, so now you know my secret account. So if you play against M. Bison, that is...
Also LSV.
That was also LSV. So, yeah, I don't know where they all went. It's super weird. So, basically, all the decks that you thought were good, no one played on Arena.
Right.
So...
Hop on and crush some nerds.
Yeah, hop on and crush some people for like a week.
Yep.
Until they make it all go away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about.
A lot of information to get through.
A lot of information, long. Yeah. We have a feeling that Standard is... no one's going to care about Standard here in a little while.
Yep.
So we're going to probably do two things going forward. We're going to probably shift a little bit more to Pioneer.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to finally get a chance to jump into the format a little bit. And it's something new that people want to hear about.
Yeah, so we're going to shift to Pioneer, and we also haven't forgot about the request for like how to play like in paper.
Yeah.
And I think that when we were driving to the MagicFest, and while we were at the MagicFest, I think the way we're going to approach it is bigger than just how do you like communicate in like a paper game. Mm-hmm. So it might end up being like kind of a multi-part where it might be like, 20 minutes of 3 or 4 episodes as opposed to an hour and 20-minute single episode.
Right.
We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, we'll see how it breaks up.
But I think we want to start with like, what are the things you need to like have?
Like physicalities.
The physical things you need to have before you leave your house.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. And like where to get those things and all that stuff so that you can go in and like be ready to
play your FNM.
Play your FNM, your first FNM, and like know what you're doing.
Yep.
So I was like, because we were talking about it, I said, this is like way bigger because there's so much stuff that since we've been playing since, I've been playing on and off since I was like 15.
Yeah.
And I'm not 15 anymore.
No, me neither.
And so... like things that like the things that you did when you were starting out and you had to figure out now you just take for granted. Mm-hmm. So it's like thinking about all those little things.
Yep. We'll try and recap them and present them in a way where they're easily digestible and findable.
Yeah. So we'll do our best.
Yep.
So look out for that. I think that as Standard slows down, like wouldn't this MC or the MC7 I guess is right at the beginning of like December or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's going to care about it.
I don't really care about it already.
And I know afterwards it's like around the holidays and no one cares about Magic.
Yep. And then Theros happens.
So like New Year's Day or January 2nd, they'll start Theros spoilers.
Yeah, I think they usually give us one thing
on Christmas.
And then they usually start like right after New Year's.
Yeah. So... no one's going to care. So we'll give you some quality content of what you can do with your Christmas money.
Yeah.
Or, if we get started early enough, you can ask Santa or your wife to buy you stuff. Santa Claus, wife, same deal.
Shh, don't ruin it for them.
What are you talking about? Like Santa Claus typically doesn't come to old people like us. It's like our wives or girlfriends.
That's true.
For our younger listeners, Santa is more kid-focused.
I gotcha.
So I'm just saying, like, though, I mean, I'm usually a good boy, so Santa does usually hook me up a little bit. So, like, I'm just saying. But, yeah, so if you have things that you want to have us address in that vein.
Yeah, this is a great time to have us do that.
Our first big request was like communication, like basically how to work through a turn in person.
Yep.
And we're going to do that.
Yeah, we were actually going to tack that onto an episode a couple weeks ago, but when I started writing it out, it was way too long to be tacked onto an episode.
It was super long, and it might not even, like, I don't think it's as in-depth as, like, we might end up actually going on, like, everything you need to do.
Yeah.
So, right, like, you know, here's one you can do now. Learn to shuffle.
Yes, please learn to shuffle.
Like,
just pick up some cards, sit there, watch TV, and shuffle.
Yeah. Like, you can start out with playing cards if you don't actually have physical cards.
Yeah.
But, like, learn how to, like, handle physical objects.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, nothing more annoying than, like, watching someone just, like, slam cards together.
Yeah.
And not shuffling and, like...
presenting unrandomized decks.
Yeah, it's
like that's borderline cheating.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I guess I have to shuffle your deck now.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a judge came over and grabbed an opponent, and I overheard him say, "You need to shuffle your cards better."
Right.
And it was round like 13 of a legacy GP. He's like
should be able to shuffle his cards,
smushing like $8,000 worth of cards together. Yeah. Like, so learn to shuffle. This is a thing you can just pick up and like attempt to do.
Yep.
But if you have anything in that, like, how do I like go from arena to paper, like the mechanics of it all.
Yep. Or even like things that you want to try and get better at. Like if you can identify a problem that you have on your own and want us to address it, let us know.
Yeah. And like we'll probably over the next few weeks start putting those topics in. So tweet at us at Casual Tripod with your suggestions.
Yep. You can shoot us a message on Facebook at Casual Tryhard MTG. Or you can email us any suggestions, comments, concerns you have to show@casualtryhardmtg.com.
Yep, and with that, we'll catch you at F&M.
We will catch you at F&M.